Welcome back to episode 3 of Can I Talk for a Second? So you have Sam and
Rosalie.
who is going to try and tame her laugh
I probably
for the
cannot.
purpose of this of this podcast because we got some feedback from our viewers who did let us know that her laugh was a little bit much. But I'm learning to use this program here, so
I'm going to try not to laugh, but I will warn it's going to be extremely hard.
we're gonna try. We're working on it. And as you can see, we got a new little studio going on, so we're making advances. And we are recording this at 11:22 p.m. After a solid outing. One of our typical traditions to see the tree.
Yes, and I will say it is way past our friggin' bedtime.
It is. We were just talking this on the way home. That we were like, well, we were trying to figure out a time to do this, and we're like, well, we'll just do it after we see the tree. And Lewis was like, why didn't you think of that before? And then we're like, this is why.
We didn't make the realization until way later that the reason is because it is way past our bedtime. We're tired and we're old.
And,
we're women with careers.
And I'd be staying out. So
Yeah.
And can we just talk about last weekend for a second? Because if that was not the epitome of we are too old for this. I don't know what is. Because
Listen,
I
I
was
was
tired for 3
sober
days.
the whole night.
That's because you had to be sober the whole night. Okay, like I did not have to be sober.
No, and homegirl over here drank 7 too many.
8.
I was gonna say, was it 8 or 9?
I don't know. Shout out to Catch 22 in Bay Ridge though. That is the spot. So I'm just saying. But but to be fair, I haven't had a night like that in a minute.
Yeah,
so. But
I had a great time, except for the fact that I had to watch you and friggin' Lewis.
Listen, that's what you signed up for. Actually, no, you signed up to have me help you watch Lewis, and then ended up having to have
Literally, I was like, just help me watch Lewis. Like, if he gets too drunk and wants to fight people, like he tried, you will just help me, like, drag him out. And she was drunk, and I was just like, cool. Now I'm watching them both. Literally watching her make sure she doesn't drink, and Lewis make sure he didn't slap
I was
anybody.
drinking. I'm just not. I wasn't. I had to stop drinking, and I did. To be fair,
Yeah,
I was like,
she did.
I was like, this needs to be my last one.
She was good.
And I was, but not many people can tolerate or like handle the amount of liquor that I can handle. So, like, shout out.
Yeah, she. By the end of the night, she was good. She was like, "This is my last drink, or I won't be able to see." And literally, she like stopped herself, so she was good.
Yeah, until I was like, "Oh, hey, whose is this?" But that's, but that I think, like, kind of like brings us around to the topic of today, like the level of friendship that we have, like that we have reached, or that we've always had. Just that is like no matter what we're doing, whether we're doing this or like riding in the car or like watching me get way too drunk. It's
always a time.
It's always a time, and I think but there's a dynamic that has to be in place for that. Like, there's not all people are not your people, and
Nope.
I think you learn that as you exist in different spaces, and you meet different people, and you hang out with like different people, especially the times that we weren't speaking, and you're like at a place, and you're like your man's is back here.
This cat has tried to jump on me. So for anybody who doesn't know, I am super allergic to cats.
And I have 3 of them, just
and
for the record.
Sam has 30, and her main squeeze over here has jumped on me now 4 times. And Samantha has no Benadryl, so I'm literally
no bennies
making sure
not those kind of bennies.
Because if not, this podcast will end
abruptly. Although, here we are talking about the type of friendship we have. I only have Benadryl in the house to keep.
Yeah, so Sam's failing there.
I'm not allergic
next
to them.
time, she's going to have to
I'll
have
bennies. I'll have them for the next podcast.
And
because
we'll keep you updated.
as we near the end of 2023 or 2022, that's too far. But we may have a special New Year's Eve treat for you all, so stay tuned. But anyway, anywho, I think, and we were talking about this over dinner, when you hang out with people for a period of time when we weren't speaking or when we like kind of weren't in the same place, you sit there and you're like, you know who would be having a really fucking good time right now? Rosalie.
And I think we brought this up, and I forget the name of the place, but Wildwood?
It was Ratchet.
No. I forget the name of it. It was in...
Wildwood's a fucking water park.
Whatever. It was something with a W, and it was in downtown Brooklyn, and it was literally across the street or down a little bit more from the Barclays Center, and it was a dope spot. But it was ratchet. Like, it was extremely ratchet, but it was a good time. Like, it was brunch,
My kind of
unlimited
place.
mimosas.
Say no
and
more.
when I tell you these mimosas had people throwing up in the bathroom, they had people throwing up in the bathroom. And I went with this person who I thought was a friend, and we'll get into that. We'll get into that shortly. And when we got there, it was just not, like, she brought two friends, and they were just, like, complaining about how loud the music was and how ghetto and ratchet, and I live for that. Like, I live for that.
But also, like, I wish they would have said it a little bit louder, because then it would have been like, somebody would have been like, drag her!
Literally. And I kid you not, the whole time I was like, yo, Sam would have totally been
I would have
with
tore
this.
that place up.
Like,
I would have been with the
drunk,
shits. I would have been,
like,
oh my God, bro. We would have been
dancing on the table.
It would have been a repeat of last weekend. Honestly, yeah, I would have been with the shits. And that, like, there's been other times where I've been even like just out and about and like running a stupid errand, because we're notorious for just like, oh, I have to go do this, and this. And it's like, oh yeah, you want to come? Like, fuck yeah, I do. It's like those TikToks where it's like when your man's like, do you want to come? And it's like, fuck yeah, I do. And it's like, you know, you're like, so nobody else understands this that like more than that person. And I think those are like the things that after we had, I think the longest we didn't speak was probably like maybe like a year and some change.
Yeah.
And it was like, eventually you get to a point where you're like, okay, I need to be the bigger person and reach back out.
And I will say, I'm never the bigger person.
I feel like that came from being a mom. And like, but also for me, like you've known Ava since she was born. Like you were there the day after I had her, and you know now she's watching. Like you heard, you know, she's watching. She sees. She's aware of what goes on, and she's trying to form those friendships.
Yeah.
And she's also trying to learn. And I feel like people learn this their entire life, that you're gonna make friends that are for a season. Like not every person that you are friends with right now is
they're not lifelong connections.
They're not, and that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's, you know, not to say that you're not, or you're out here being like, all right, your time's up, like cash your ticket in. It's just that you're at a point in your life, like when I was in college, like I'm sure you were just college friends that you shared an experience and you had like that to bond over, but then you go someplace else with them and you're like,
this wasn't it. This is not the person.
Yeah,
to
this was fun, but like no thanks. So it's like it's finding a balance, really. But I think the only and people are like, oh, you've been friends forever, and I say it to Ava, we are the exception and not the rule, because I don't think many people are friends with anybody that they went to middle school with.
Yeah, we've been friends since sixth grade, right?
Yeah.
We met in drama class. And it
very
was
fitting.
It was literally
fitting.
like we had to be paired up for a project. And I kid you not, like, we were just like, all right, let's do this. And she was out for like a week. And I was
fucking
like,
mono.
I was like, what
a
the hell?
time to get fucking mono in middle school. When I was like the epitome of a saint, I get fucking mono.
I was like, this girl has been out for a week. And like, I just thought she was playing hooky. I didn't know anything about her.
Not yet.
And I was just like, whatever, like, I'll do it. And then she comes back like a week later after the project's due. And I was like, bro, what the hell? And she was like, I had mono. I was really, really sick. And I was like, all right, cool. And then we just started talking. And then that was the beginning to this.
Pretty much. Like, here we are. And like, we went to the same high school. And like, and it's crazy because even in high school, we were on two totally different paths. Like, we were part of two different worlds. Yeah. So, like, you know, and I think our shared experience kind of was that we had sort of strict parents who, you know, were like very aware of what we were doing and how we were doing it. But the difference was you gave a fuck.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Yeah.
So,
and I think
like, that's where the difference was. But, like, when I would cut school and you'd be like, hey, you should come back. Like, your mom's here. You know, it's like.
Oh, my God.
That story,
there
like, we should get.
Oh my God, we have to tell that story.
We have to get my mom on the podcast to tell that story because she would tell an entirely different version of this story. But to preface, I from like the second half of my sophomore year on, I was a notorious cutter. So I would just like get my attendance taken and leave. But if something was happening, Rosalie or somebody else would be like, "Hey, you need to come back to the building," and I'd be like,
literally,
fine.
I don't remember what class I was in, and somebody comes up to me and they're like, where's Sam? And I was like, oh, she left. Like, it's like third period. Like, she's gone.
It was probably, breakfast was still being served at McDonald's, so it was definitely earlier
like,
than that.
They were like, where's Sam? And I was like, oh. And I was like, she's gone. She left for the day. And they were like,
for the day, but
you need to tell her to come back. Her mom's in the office going off. And I was like, fuck.
And anybody who knew me in high school knew my mom. Like, he's trying it again. Yeah, but anybody who knew me in high school knew my mom. Like, my mom was just a well-known, like, person in the school system. So, like, shout out to you, George. But, like, they knew. So if this cat is just fucking up the lighting, bro. But anybody who knew. So that particular morning, I had left the school with Ava's dad, and we were in the McDonald's on 20th and like 19th and 86th, and Truancy catches me. Like, we're leaving the McDonald's, and Truancy grabs us.
And at this point,
off
like,
the rip was like, get in the van.
I'm texting her, and I'm like, where are
I'm
you?
in the back of the paddy wagon
And
at this
she's
point.
literally
I'm
texting
like,
me.
I'm basically like, you know.
She's like, I'm in Truancy right now.
I'm
And
in
I
the
was
van. Like, this is happening. Like,
I was like, well,
is...
your mom's here looking for you, and she's going off right now. So
George was going ham squad because I had a dentist appointment that I forgot about, and she was there to take me to it.
You're the worst. That would have all been.
You know what? A shared calendar at that point would have been very helpful. It would have been. She has one now. Now, like I don't. Okay, thank you for telling me you're going to get your teeth cleaned. But like, that would have been really helpful in high school. But I get back and like truancy. I guess my mom thought truancy would like bring me like downtown and I'd be detained and somebody had to claim me. The truancy guy was like, we just bring them back to the school and the school notifies the parent, and she's yelling, take her downtown, call her father. I'm
God.
not signing for her. And the AP is like, that's okay because you don't need to sign for her. They bring her back and then like whatever. In my brain, as I'm in the back of the paddy wagon, I'm like, I'm just gonna leave again. I'm gonna wait a period and I'm gonna dip off again. Like, I didn't give a fuck. And and I was like, I don't care. I like my mental illness. It was like, I'm gonna do what I want. Where Rosalie's is like, I need to do good and be good and like have everything.
Dad pulled up to that school, that was it.
You
Nobody
were done.
was ever going to see me again. So I was like, I need to follow the rules and just call it a day, because if I don't, I'm going to be dead. Like, my dad would have killed me in front of all the teachers and been like, what? I'd do it again.
And I'd do it again, too.
And I was just like, no, thank you.
But my mom was just as nuts, but I didn't.
She didn't care. I gave a
Rosalie
fuck.
cared, and that was that. But that's like, we were two totally different, like, people, essentially, although we are really at the core the same person. Just like my reaction to authority was, fuck you, I'm going to do what I want. And yours was like, nope. That's why you educate the youth of America, and I work in corporate America.
That is why I teach middle school now.
Yeah, and that is why I work in corporate America, which is probably the most corrupt place on earth. So, with that being said, but like that type of thing, and even when we like, because when I was dating Ava's dad, like that was a time. That was a time, and we'll have him on here to explain it. We had a time last night, but that was like a time, and they get mad every time I go back to him. And so even when we were like kind of on shitty terms, I had never had a doubt, like even when we weren't speaking, that if I called in the middle of the night and was like, I'm in trouble, I need help, that you wouldn't have been like, fine, tell me where you are. Like, maybe we wouldn't have spoken again after that, but I knew that you would have showed up.
I feel like
the same
every
way
time,
for me, like it would, like I without hesitation, I would have been like, tell me where you are, I'm on my way.
I feel like we always, like, we would stop talking, and then, like, we'd be like, that's it. But in the back of our minds, like, we knew, like, no, it's not it. We just kind of
6
need
months,
a little
I need
time.
a break.
Yeah.
I need a break.
And then she was the one, because I don't know, like, I was just very petty, and I was just like, no, fuck her.
I was honestly for a period of time, like, but then eventually, like I said, you kind of like get to the point where you're like, with almost anything, you get to the point where you're like, is my pride and stubbornness worth like losing this friendship? Because then like I'd get those things on, like back in the old iPhone, it would be like on this day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn. Or like I'd plan Ava's birthday or my birthday, or I think one of the worst ones for me was probably my 24th birthday. And we weren't speaking.
Okay.
And I was like trying to plan, and I had a vision in my head of what I wanted to do, but nobody else understood it. Like, nobody else was like, they didn't get it. And like, yeah, everybody knows I like to drink and I like to party, and that's fine. But like, but it's not this, like the night that we had last weekend was what I wanted for my birthday.
That's fair,
and it just turned into like not that. And like, I'm very not into house or EDM music, and going to a place like that made no sense to me. So when somebody else was like, oh, I'll plan it, I'll do it, we'll have a great time, I got there and I was like, this is not giving.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? He's about to go fuck that shit up.
Yeah.
And make mad noise. But I was like, and then I was like, because shortly after that, I think I hit you up, or like in the, like later that summer, and I was just like, that, like, I don't, like, this isn't, nobody understands. And I think that's like in knowing, some people might be your friend or your acquaintance where you can like, you know, catch up and have dinner, but they don't know you. And I think separating that is important, and not forcing the connection.
I also feel like in relationships, there's always like, not always, but like a lot of the times they have like the rebound, right? Like you get out of a
Or,
relationship.
or the placeholder, I
Yeah,
call it,
like the
the
placeholder
filler.
or the filler. And I feel like that also happens in friendships where you have a person where you're like, all right, I can put them in the place for now just to kind of like ease the pain or like ease that emptiness.
Or you just have like this blanket idea of like, all right, they can be my friend too. Like they can do the same thing when
But it's
they
not
can't.
the same.
It's not quite the same. It's not, because then like, especially when something annoys me and somebody else is like when you text me, you're like, would you be annoyed by this? And I'm like, yes, that's fucking aggravating. Where someone else is like, it's not that big of a deal, and I'm like, but it is.
And I'm like, okay,
but
I
it
don't want to
is.
talk to you anymore. You don't. You
And I'm like,
clearly
never mind.
don't get it.
Fucking never mind. And but I think the problem is people, they feel because they've spent a certain amount of time with a person, they're obligated to see that friendship through.
And I think that with the person, and I'm gonna try not to name names, but I think the person, the person that we brought up at dinner who was like my placeholder, like
A
for Sam.
weeble. The bitch was built like a weeble.
I tried really hard, and I tried to be the bigger person, and I always like, I saw the good in her.
Let me tell you who the bigger person was.
Then she's a bitch.
It wasn't me.
She's clearly the bitch in the friendship.
I tried.
I was like, you know what? Like, she's a good person. And then later on, I found out, like, she was talking shit behind my back. And the jealousy was so real.
So
and
jealous.
That was the friendship that, like, I felt like I had to see through. And eventually it got to the point where I literally became the bigger person. I was like, no, like, I'm not doing this anymore. And, like, the whole topic of this, like, podcast today is literally like friendships that you realize are expired. And for me, it was like expired.
That person's, and I think like, and I forget, it might have been my therapist who said it, but it was like, you know, some people are for a season, they're there to like see you through to the next phase of life, and they're there to teach you something. So like, I think the turning point for me in a situation like that was when I started struggling a lot with my anxiety and depression, and I was really going through it. Like, it was a really bad time, and all they wanted to do was go out and party, and it was every weekend was like, let's go out, let's go out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but that's me, and I love to do it. So for me to constantly be like, no, I'm not up to it, would have been a red flag. Like, are you sure you're okay? Like,
I would have been like, yo, let's go walk.
Let's go to Starbucks. Like,
water.
okay, you don't want to go to the mall. Like, let's do whatever. And it was just constantly like, oh, you're always busy. Oh, you never want to go. And it's like, yeah, because I'm struggling and you're not seeing it. And it was just like, that was eye opening. Where like I was going through like arguably one of the worst time periods of my life, and you were nowhere to be found. And because I couldn't fill a need for you, you didn't give a fuck what was going on with me. And it was like, I can't endorse that. And then what like nailed that coffin shot was after that whole like really bad episode in that time period. It was like 6 months I was like really struggling. That when I came out of that and tax season began again, it was like, hey, can you do my taxes? And I was like, bro, what? Like, and that for me was like, this is enough.
This was the season.
Like, this was the season. Like, this was, and but then also like going back to that, like the need or the urge, and like I don't know if you have like a similar. I feel like I need to be like the caregiver or like the fixer, and be like I have this resource, let me share it. I don't want to be a gatekeeper or a shitty person, but it's also like knowing to set a boundary, and I'm still learning that, like to just say no, like friendships, relationships, even family. Like I'm
even
sorry,
work-wise,
yeah,
like I've just learned how to start, like, and I'm still not there yet, but like a huge part of me at the beginning of my career, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah,
you overcommit to shit, and you're like
now I'm just
and
like,
you're burnt out.
Yeah, I was literally last year, like coming out of the pandemic, I
remember
burnt
you
out.
were stressed the
like
fuck
I
out.
was stressed, like crying every day. Like Lewis would have to stay home from work because I was literally stressed out. And now I'm at the point where it's like, I do what I can, and if people don't want to pick up the slack, like I'm not picking it up.
Yeah, like and that's my thing. Like I'm gonna do my job to the absolute. I'm gonna commit to it. I'm gonna do the job to the best of my ability. But I'm not gonna go above and beyond without, not to say a return, because then it sounds like you're doing something for something. But like I'm not gonna burn myself out. And it's like striking that balance between work and like your personal life, or like friendships and whatever. It's like, you know, and also not being afraid to be like, that doesn't work for me, or like I need to think about that, or I can help, but this is how. And even like I have, you know, relationships with people. They're like, well, I need this, and I'm like, well, I can't provide that, and then they go ghost on you, and then they flip it on you, and they're like, well, you weren't there when I needed you, or I told you the situation where like I was asked to miss my dad's birthday, and I was like, I'm not missing his birthday, and then it was like, well, you weren't there in my time of need, and I was like, no, I tried to be. I told you I could provide X, Y, and Z to you to be that support system, but that wasn't good enough for you.
Yeah.
So it's like that's when you have to be like, I'm gonna rein myself back in because you're not appreciative of what I can do, and like obviously, like I'm not Jesus. You better wake the fuck up, you little bitch. I'm not Jesus, but like I'm trying to help you, and you're not seeing that. You're not appreciating it, and it's like, and I don't know why I feel bad about taking myself away from people, but I do. Like I feel bad being like I was there for you, whatever, and now I feel like it's not reciprocated, so I'm gonna roll. Like I'm gonna take some of that back.
But that's the thing about setting boundaries. It doesn't always feel good, but in the long run, it is like the best. And I think like with that friendship, like that person did reach out to me maybe 2 or 3 times, and old Rosalie would have been like, you know what, she was sorry, like let it go.
Yeah, let me like
I would have been very complacent. I would have jumped back into it, and I literally, the minute she hit me up, I was like, I am no longer there. Like that is not, like I'm setting my boundary. You went too far. You did too much. And I'm in another phase of my life where now I'm getting married. Like I have a career, and I can't see myself getting married, having
or
kids,
opening
and
the
then
door for that.
you being there,
just
like
the energy that you bring, and like
Yeah.
I'm big after this summer, all this shit, like the juju and all that stuff that went down. I'm very big on like the energy that you
Yeah, and I
surround yourself
can't-
with. It's heavy, and it impacts everything that you do. So if you're friends with somebody who's like that, who's super envious, because I've had a similar friendship where
Yep.
the person, it was not only envious, but like almost like borderline, like what was that fucking movie that you told me to watch?
Oh, Single White Female.
I was gonna say The House Next Door, but that's
No,
not.
it was Single White Female, and then they did The Roommate, I think it was. And it's just about this person who is so like envious and like just wants the other person's life. And I didn't know who you were talking about, but now that we're talking,
I was like trying to say it without saying it, but it's like that type of like it. But I don't. If you're not genuinely here for me, and like you don't care about me, then then there's the door. Like and don't feel like you're obligated to be my friend either, because it works both ways. So if you feel
Absolutely.
like I'm no longer like serving that point in your life, you better not jump on my friend, bro. Stop it.
He's in love with me.
He's in love. But if I'm no longer like meeting your needs in the friendship, or I'm no longer like adding value or benefit to your life, then tell me, by all means. Be like, you're being lately I've noticed you've been a shitty friend, or I feel this and this away.
And I feel like I'd respect that.
Way
Like I felt
more.
like had this person told me like you're changing or I feel this way,
And I might
would
have said,
been
yes,
like,
I am changing because I want to work on X, Y, and Z. And that's the thing. Not every person in your life is going to want to see you change, because you benefit them the most as you are in that moment.
And I think one of the things that like pissed this person off was I started a new relationship. And to me, it's like I was trying to balance the relationship as well as my friendships. But if my boyfriend at the time is coming home or coming to see me at 5 p.m., understand that I was going to make plans around that. So if that meant I came to see you at 12, like understand that.
But again, I'm giving you what I'm able to give you.
Yeah.
And like, it's not to say that
And
if
that
you
person
needed
could
me at that
not.
time and there was something like,
Yeah,
that's
no.
different. But if you expect me to drop everything and be there, and then like you said, go back and then be like upset that I'm not a service provider. Like I'm not a therapist. Like
No.
it's mutual. And also, like, why can't you be happy for the fact that I've found a relationship, or like that I
And literally,
or to not be envious and like, oh, well, why does he always have to come, or like, why is he always around? Like I don't see the
and
issue.
it wasn't even like he was coming around. Like at this point, like I was literally off all day. I was off from the minute I woke up until 5:30 p.m. Why couldn't we do something between then?
And if that doesn't work for you, that's fine. Be like, hey, I actually have to work until whatever time.
Yeah.
Are you free on this whatever? Like we were doing
this day.
yesterday. We were like, hey, are you free on the 27th? No, I have this. Okay, well I'm off that day.
Yeah.
So we're like, all right, what about New Year's? Like, oh, perfect, because New Year's the ball don't drop till 12, so we could do whatever. We got the
that's
whole
where
day. It's like we'll make it work.
That's a part of like grown-up relationships. Like I have a career, she has a career. Like we are grown-ups and we understand that. And a lot of people don't, and they think that. And I think another part of like that friendship was she moved out of the apartment and I had just started my career. So that weekend, I was like, I can't help you, but I can try to come another day during the week.
Help you unpack, do
Like,
whatever.
I was
So
like,
it's
I can help. I was like, just this weekend I can't. And she was like, well, teaching is not that serious. And I was like, okay,
like, what?
that's
Excuse me.
for you. I was like,
But
that's
that
fine.
right there shows. First of all, that shows me that you're like your. I don't even want to say like your jealousy, but you're like your disproportionate or your unrealistic expectation of me has gone too far, and you don't, because you remember the version of me that'd be like you still seeing me as the same person who worked season late H&R
I was just gonna say after school, what I was doing after
or
school,
when you worked at the pharmacy, like, and you were available on whatever, like, to know that, like, that'd be like me being like, really, you're not off on fucking whatever
and I
day?
was just like, no.
Like,
I was like,
no.
I literally had to lesson plan. It was my first year. I was still learning. I was still trying to get where I am today.
But you could have been fucking clipping your toenails. If I have something to do, but also can we also normalize being able to text your friends and being like, I'm fucking tired and exhausted, or I had a shit fucking week, can we reschedule? Or instead of going out, can we chill at the house?
And I feel like that's where, like, our friendship, like, there was always that understanding. Like, there's been times where we've had plans and I'm like, bro, like, I had a week. And she'd be like, yo, do you want me to come over? And I'm like, yeah, like,
I'm like, all right, fuck it.
Just chill.
We won't go out. Let's
house.
let's order tacos and bullshit. And then Lewis is like, yes, PlayStation. Like, he's like, bro, that noise, honestly, like,
it's PTSD.
That noise woke me from a dead fucking sleep, bro.
It's
a dead sleep. I don't have one. I have an Xbox, so I don't have one. Okay, I lived with one for a period of time. I was dead asleep, and that noise, I literally was like, what's happening? Like, I don't, but see, like, that type of thing, most people wouldn't get it. They'd be like, what? Like, because you understand, and, you know,
and
like,
I feel like a lot of people are probably going to be like, what are they talking about? But I know what
actually, any woman who has a man who plays video games is going to know the sound of the console turning on sometimes. It's like, Jesus Christ, the cat is like, amen.
Yeah, he's in agreement with us.
He's howling. But that alone, like, but it's also like, I don't know, like, certain things are funny and you're like, yeah, right, but also it's like understanding that in that joke is also like a mourning of things, you know, like what was, and like understanding that, yeah, like, I might make light of it, but it's also like, you know, kind of sad.
Back trauma.
Like the trash can come with the picture, like that is like, yeah, haha, funny, but it's like, think about how different your life was a year ago. And I saw this meme or something on TikTok, and it was like, does anybody else feel? I don't know if that's Lewis or the cat. I don't know. I don't have water bottles, so it's probably the cat. But
I was like, I don't think it's Lewis.
Like, Lewis, are you okay?
He's probably playing video games.
Or fast asleep on my couch.
Or, yeah.
But yeah, it was something that said, like, does anybody else feel like they lived 2 lives or 2 years in 1 year? That, like, January to June was one life, and June or July to December was another.
That was literally you.
It was literally, and like, the last time I saw my therapist, and I was actually talking to Mariah about it too, and I was like, I feel like nothing right at this moment is the same as it was. No, there's nothing.
Dude,
not my career.
I was just gonna
relationships,
say,
like, my friendships are different. Like, everything is different.
You literally live in a new place. You are at a new job. You are, like, everything. In your life.
I went to the doctor yesterday, bro. I lost 40 pounds. Like, everything is different. Like, yes, we love a good weight loss story. But, like, nothing is the same, and that in itself is fucking heavy, and it's hard to, like, especially after dealing with other mental health struggles, to, like, not be back in, like, a place of, like I feel like everything's out of control, to, like, being around people who know that those are going to be triggers for you, and to know that you're going to be like, okay, like, you know,
I
or
mean,
like,
we're probably not the best in it because we have really dark humor when it comes to traumatic experiences.
Yeah. Like,
we'll say shit.
Why do you have a motivational app? So I don't off myself. Like, what? Like,
and,
it's
like,
we'll make
funny. Jokes, and, like, Lewis will be like, you guys can't say things like that. And we're like, we say it all the time.
And I'm like, it's funny. And they're like, no, it's not. But, like, we understand that. But it's like those things, like, you kind of, like, and I guess that's how we cope, is to find the humor in, like, the what the fuck. Because this year, for me, was a what the fuck.
I feel like it was a big what the fuck.
This year was the biggest, like, oh my God, or, like, turning point for me since, like, 2017. And, like I said, everything shifted. And I felt, and I still kind of feel like at a point, I don't have any control. Like, life is just happening and I'm adapting. But it's also, like, the mindset of, like, okay, I have people that love and support me. Because sometimes I wake up bro, when I have the worst anxiety. Like my heart is racing and I feel like I'm drowning, and then I have to like ground myself and be like, you're loved, people support you, you have your needs are met, you're okay. But it's like you can't do that without people in your corner.
No, absolutely
Like
not.
you can't
Absolutely
do
not.
that without good friends, and honestly like mending or like having good relationships with your family, because like when you're going through certain phases of life, your family is not an enemy, but like they're your biggest critic, and it's so hard
Talk
to
about trauma.
yeah, well, that's an entirely other
I was
fucking
just gonna
podcast,
say that
but
that'll
like
be a different
that's a
podcast
different,
topic.
but it's also like knowing that, and also accepting people for who they are, family, friends. You have to not or get out of the habit of trying to make people or twisting people to fit into a mold that you've
Yeah.
made for them. And we're guilty of it, and people are guilty of doing it to
Yeah.
you. So it's like when you have this idea that this person is going to be this type of friend for me or this type of person, and they're going to show up the way I would show up for them, and then you're disappointed and you're like, well, wait a minute, I would have been there for you like that.
But it's like I've realized that it's like sometimes it's my fault for thinking that way.
I overinflate their
Yeah,
my
it's
importance
like-
in their life.
It's like just because you would doesn't mean others will.
Exactly.
And that's another boundary you have to set for yourself, where it's like, all right, I realize that this person wouldn't, so maybe I shouldn't.
Well, that's the thing, and also like remembering or like kind of just being realistic with yourself that I might feel you're more important to me than I am to you, and then adjusting your expectations. Why? I'm right here. What am I, fucking invisible, bro? No, leave Rosalie alone.
Our
Come
cat
here.
likes Latin women. That's
Come here.
what it
Yeah,
is.
right. He loves
He's
a good,
literally
he loves a spicy woman.
He literally has
Come here.
walked over to me and like jumped on my legs like 4 times.
See, he knows. That's how you know the friendship is real. If my pet doesn't like you, then you ain't a real one.
Literally, he loves Lewis. So
Yeah, so
thank
Lewis
God.
is a
If
keeper.
If he didn't like Lewis would
Have to go.
have to go.
I'm like, sorry, Lou, but and he's also nicknamed Louie, which is also kind of funny. But yeah, I think like just being realistic, like, hey, I've shown up for you, and like I don't want anything in return for it, but just adjusting your expectations of people to what they're actually able to give you, whether that be a parent or a sibling or a friend or whoever else. Hello, mans. Leave Rosalie
And
alone.
there he is again.
Here
our
he is.
little mascot.
Well, you know what it is? Last time the camera was lower and he could get in, and now he's like, I have to find a way to make my fucking
and he
appearance.
Made sure.
Hello,
he
boy.
Made sure.
But I just, and I'm still learning that, because for me, I'm like, I have a lot of love to give. So, like, people who, like, I know that you're always going to be there and have my back. So I, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm going to show up and I'm going to go hard, and like, that's it. But then having that same expectation for other relationships and not getting it is disappointing. And then you're like, what the fuck? You're like, am I not a good person?
It's something you've got to like sit down and have that conversation, and it's like, not everybody is going to give me the 110% that I give them. And that's just sadly the boundary you have to set for yourself. And you can have that for some people, but you can't have it for everyone. And that's the biggest letdown, where you're like, damn, not everyone is going to do it for me.
Not everyone's going to show up, but it's also like how many, like finding that balance of like, okay, maybe they didn't show up because they were having an off week. And like remembering, and I say this to Ava a lot too, it's not always about you. Look at him. He's like, but you won't let me sit on your lap though.
You're cute though.
He's like, yes.
I will die.
But it's also like remembering everything and every person. Look at him. He's like, you're going to itch, bitch. Every person's reaction and the way they're moving is not always about you. So sometimes, yeah, maybe they're moving a certain way or acting a certain way not because of something I did or because they feel a way about me, but because they're going through something.
Yeah.
And like taking yourself out of the equation and being like, okay, like they flaked on our plans, or okay, they didn't text me back, but they're on Instagram. Like maybe that's how they decompress.
I laugh because this is the conversation I have with myself as a teacher, where it's like, my class was being really difficult today, and some days I'm like, ugh, I'm such a shitty teacher, like, I'm terrible. And I have to remind myself, like, no, like, sometimes it's not about you. Like, there's 30 kids, and they're all going through something, and they all have a story.
Yeah, their home lives, or,
there
what
was
they're
one
going
kid
through.
who, like, drove me bananas. I was like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. And his teacher from last year was like, oh, yeah, I had that student. Like, his dad passed away last year, and the mom lost, like, she had to pay all the doctor bills, and because she was paying all the doctor bills, they lost their house, and because they lost their house, they were in a shelter. And I was just like, Oh.
Yeah, and then you're like, well, fuck. Like
I was
they
like,
weren't
right.
they
Like,
weren't
it's not
intentionally
about,
making
yeah,
my
and
life
I'm like,
difficult, or they didn't just not like me as a teacher.
yeah, and I
Like
was
this
like,
kid's life's falling apart.
I was like, it's not about me, and it's like you say that, and it's like that resonates so true in so many things, and I see it every day in my career where it's like, no, like these kids have hard lives and people are having hard days, and you can't take it personal when things don't go the way you expect them to.
And
go.
that's like a, but that's, I feel like you're gonna learn that or have to learn that or teach yourself that your entire life, because sometimes you have this like grand expectation, like my birthday, for example. I had this great, like big, but remember it's my birthday. So yes, my friends are gonna care about my birthday, but like not to the degree that I'm gonna. And it's like, okay, but then it's like, then you're like, all right, you're like trying to like pick apart the instance where it's like, all right, well maybe that's not important to you, but also why can't you respect or understand it's important to me? So it's like finding that middle ground of like, what type of friend are you, and what type of place are you gonna hold in my life, and the type of importance. So like, yes, I'm gonna. There's that fucking sneezing thing again.
I was like, Lewis,
the air freshener. Lewis has a cold now. You know, just like realizing that and being like, okay, you can't give me this, and either I can accept that you can't provide this level of support and friendship for me, and be okay with what you are able to provide, or I decide that there's really no reason to continue giving of myself and like supporting you when you don't reciprocate it, and I have to like back myself out of the relationship. And with like realizing that and setting boundaries and like, you know, kind of growing your self-respect comes a lot of goodbyes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of goodbyes. There's a lot of like
literally I have my work friends, I have friends from my old job, but it's like those are like arm's distance friends where it's like we have a great time when we're together and I love them, but
you wouldn't call them on a bad day.
Yeah,
you wouldn't like be like, hey, you wouldn't call them and be like, I had a fight with Lewis just now. Like,
yeah,
that's
no,
not the
there's
type of
like
friendship.
my
I call them like
circle.
Like they're like environmental friends. Like, you know, you're my friend when we're like, you know, I love you at work, whatever, but like outside of work, like there's very
like I still
few,
love you,
yeah, but like
it's
you're
just,
not my core peoples.
Yeah, like I think about it and it's like my core peoples are Sam and Lewis, and then like my mom.
Yeah, and I'm
and
like,
that's like
that's what I'm like.
Where it goes.
When we refer to the group chat, I'm like, it's really just me, Rosalie, and our multiple personalities.
Yes,
because we're Geminis.
Yes,
not
we're
because
both
we're like,
Geminis.
I would say not
like,
because we're schizophrenic.
literally.
Our birthdays are 5 days apart.
Yeah.
So, like, that's what the group chat is. It's just, like, our multiple... And it's funny because we both feed off of each other. So, like, it's very easy to be like, all right, well, this... I'm mad about this, and you're like, me too, and then like immediately like flip it, and we'll have multiple conversations going in different apps.
Yes, like sometimes, like today, for example, like we were talking
the German restaurant.
So Sam sends me a freaking restaurant, and she's like, "What about this restaurant?" I'm like, "Sam, it's German."
Oh, to be fair, I typed in the search bar Mexican Cantina because we had like that's the food we wanted. So I type in Mexican Cantina expecting like relevant results to like pop up, and
it German bar.
It sounded a little bit. It was like Rechtenbach something,
yeah.
And I was like, that sounds a little weird for a cantina.
From literally
but okay.
From like Instagram to our text messages
to TikTok.
To there were like 3 different conversations going on all at once, and we responded to each one of them, and we were like fully engaged. And
in
like,
each one, like here's the link for this, and it's like separate. It's like here's a screenshot of that, and here's the link for this, and
I'm like, we're the worst.
And
but
it's like, yeah, there's like no order, and she's like, I'm
keeping
confused, and then like the TikTok brain pops on, and it's like, you're confused? I'm fucking confused, bro. And I'm like, then we determined that the Mexican cantina that was previously in the Richtenbach space was closed, but Google never updated it, so I didn't know. But the pictures were of tacos, and the fucking tag said Mexican. And I'm like, I don't. And then she's like, because she had like the common sense to go look on Instagram at this place, which I did not have, because I'm like on Google and I'm scrolling, and I'm like,
it was literally so. I was to the point where I was like, Sam, I'm so confused whether it's Mexican or not. I don't know.
Like what continent?
I don't want to eat there.
What continent is this from?
And I'm like, Sam, I think it's German, and she's like, no.
I'm like, we're gonna keep our original reservation, and we're gonna go to Mad Dog and Beans, and we're gonna eat there and call it a day. And then, like again, we parked like 10 blocks from where we had to go, remembering that we are old.
Yeah,
like we are, but also like we used to take the train and the bus everywhere, and now we're like living the high life, and I'm like, get in the car.
Yeah, and I don't drive.
Paid $24 to park that bitch.
Like I take bus and train everywhere still. But it was nice to sit in a heated car because I have no heat.
It's funny because when I realized how much, so in case anybody was considering parking at a meter in Manhattan, it's $12 for 2 hours. So
So
after
you paid $24.
bro, we could have put it in a fucking garage.
God.
So it is funny because we went into the Starbucks. Lewis looked at me, and then we realized the math, and we were like,
Could have just went
we
into
could have just
a-
went into a fucking garage. And
Yeah,
I was
because
like,
they're
well,
like 20 something
yeah,
bucks.
same thing, $24.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I'm like, because I just didn't realize it because previously I didn't. Like,
Yeah.
when I wasn't driving, I didn't know. But I'm like,
Well,
Whatever.
Learned experience. We know
Whatever.
for next time.
yeah, I'm like, I'm like, it's an adventure. It's fun. Like we just walked up Fifth Avenue and like went to see the tree and shit. And I'm like, yeah, I just fucking paid $20 to park on the street. On the street, like that's major ick status.
We could have literally parked in a parking lot closer.
Yeah, hella closer. Actually, I don't know how much closer we could have gotten.
Yeah, because
But yeah,
they go
but
up
either
in price,
either way, we had a time. So
It was a good time.
the video that my dad and his cat videos, I can't. The video that we took in the bar,
Was it of me singing?
it was of us singing,
Oh, God.
but because I didn't watch it, I sent it to you on Snapchat too,
Yes,
but I
I did
saved
see
it.
it.
So I feel like we need to watch it together at this moment. There's a filter on here.
How many like sips of my drink was I in?
The aggression, like half at this point.
Oh, was this the time I yelled and everybody?
No, yeah, see? With the aggression in that particular line. I heard it on the radio the other day, and I'm
Mind
just
you,
like,
I am very
Okay, so
happily engaged. I must have been
I'm not.
thinking
But
of other
you know,
scrubs.
it's telepathic. You understand my pain. you feel
Maybe I was just singing for Sam.
for me because that but that specific line, the hanging out your best friend's right, that's
Oh, do not do it.
specific
Behave.
line
Behave.
was I wasn't even sauced. Like one of those drinks is like Capri Sun
They were
to
strong
me.
though.
They were very strong.
They were strong.
It was very It was giving very much like here's a splash of apple
Juice.
juice and like 89.999% wine, and then the rest is like fruit. But like that line gets like the song, the Kanye song. It's like gets my blood going, like because I'm like, how relevant is that? But I'm like,
She's trying to behave. She's being very modest.
I'm being
'cause
diplomatic.
That's not what she said in the.
that is
frickin'
not what I
bar.
said at the bar. Well, I mean that video was just a taste of how aggressively I was singing that fucking song.
She went in.
But like, but again, like poor Lewis is such a good sport because we were singing. The bar was playing oldies like hits,
That man.
and he was patiently sitting. And then once we really started yelling at like a volume where the surrounding tables were like, we were like, okay.
I feel
just
like
gonna-
Lewis is just.
And he
He
just sat. He
understands.
sat patiently, and he was just like,
This is my
you got
fiance
it. You're good.
and her best
No,
friend.
the picture of him, and you had to send it to me so I can crop the picture and we can like throw it in the video.
I already screenshotted it.
Oh, please
of
send it to
just
me.
him.
It's so here's I'm gonna like patch it in like below, like so you can see it. But like that is Lewis's face was like when you ask a man like, would you love me if I was a worm? That is the face that he like. That's like the epitome of like, well, I'm here, aren't I? Like type of
Lewis
face.
I've asked him if he'd love me if I was a worm. His
But
answer was no.
The
His answer was like, no, you'd be a worm. Why would I love you? And
okay,
I'm
but if you knew me before I was a worm,
like,
would
what
you-
if I just like magically like shapeshifted into a
or
worm?
like what
Like,
if
would
what
you still
what,
be with
what
it?
animal? What is it? A bat that turns into a vampire like a person?
Yeah.
Like what if I suddenly became like a worm that
Like,
did
would you
that?
still be with
Like,
it?
because butterflies do that. Butterflies
Yeah,
are like
they
squishy
morph,
fucking balls
yeah.
of goo, and then they turn into. I mean, that's not the
He
scientific.
said no. He said he was tired of my shit that day, and he told me to go to bed. And that was the end of that conversation. I feel like he totally would, because
I feel like at this point you're committed.
like
first
we're
of
gonna
all,
get married.
A worm could wear a ring, so I don't want to hear it.
Like, where are you going?
I don't like
Because
that.
I'm gonna scare them all away.
I mean, I get like that's.
The girl
but
be
though-
laying down. I'll be like
Just-
swarming over.
Do worms like okay? Do worms do like this,
Or
or like do they like the? That's a snake.
no, that's a snake.
Okay,
I
so
feel like
worms
a worm, yeah.
are like the. I feel like I need to Google it for confirmation. But like worms are like they're like.
I would like squirm over like
But I don't. Is that? But I feel like then it's like.
whatever it is. I
I'm
would
a
do it.
snake.
I'm a slithering snake.
The fucking sound. TikTok has ruined the world because everything I do now
Everything.
is a TikTok sound. I mean, clearly, and I'm gonna patch that video in here too as well.
Which one?
The boy, we had a time last night because when I got
is
home.
that from TikTok? I didn't know
that
that
sound,
was from
bitch.
I
Oh
just
my
thought
god,
it was
no,
you.
wait, no, that wasn't me. That was me.
I thought you were just.
That was hold on. I'm
reminiscing
gonna
the night.
no. Oh, I was, but that no. Okay, so I'm gonna find the sound for you because it is a sound.
See, I'm blind.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. I keep singing I need a big boy. I want a big boy to Lewis.
I didn't know that was.
You haven't heard that?
Listen.
No, I didn't know. That was her last weekend.
That was me.
I didn't know that was TikTok.
No, so I don't know what, like, and it's funny because when we got here, Lewis was like, did you stare at these steps? So the steps to get into my apartment, there's like 2 very steep sets of stairs.
Yeah, it's fucking scary.
So when I got home last weekend, I was like, where we could powerhouse up these stairs. When I got to the top, first of all, I was wearing boots. I had a heel. It was cold and I was only wearing a leather jacket, and I in the bar took my contact out of my eye. Like I looked at her.
She literally was like, I'm gonna catch COVID. And
okay, I didn't sanitize my hand before I ripped the contact out of my eye. I just touched my fucking raw eyeball with my finger that was in the bar. I raw dogged my eyeball with my finger from the bar. And I was like, damn, I probably have COVID now. I did not have COVID. Like, knock on wood. But I did not have COVID. So I was like, I was wearing glasses. And then I also, like, when I looked at that video back, I was like, whose glasses are those? I was like, were those mine? And I realized
you took out the car.
Well, because I keep a spare pair in my car for like instances like that. But like when I got to the top of the stairs, I was winded and I was like, this was a good time. And I was like, that sound just stuck out in my head. And I was like, boy, we had a time last night.
I had a great time.
And I was just like, and you could see me in the very beginning of that video, like stand up straight. And I was like, whoa, like I was up high because I'm on the second story. And I was like, imagine I just fell over the side.
Honestly, like, her stairs are fucking
and they're see-through. You can see like the floor.
Yes, it is. It's even scarier when you can see the floor because it's like, oh, like I'm fucking high, like not high, but like
Smokey
high
the Bear
up.
is high, like that. I don't. Yeah, I was like that video was. It
was funny.
It was quite funny. Yeah, it was like a perfect like. Just a cherry on top. Like
it was a good night.
It was a good night. It was a good night.
It was Lewis's 33rd birthday celebration, so we were having a grand old time. I was telling Lewis that if he smacked anybody or kept saying he was going to smack anybody,
drag her.
We were leaving, and he was just like, "Okay, I don't want to leave. No,
he was, and then the picture of me, what you sent me the next day, walking to him with the shot.
Yeah.
I looked way too happy to be walking around with a shot of Henny in my hand.
I was just like, oh, Jesus Christ.
And I was like, and the bartender gave it to me. He was like, this is not for you, right? And I was like, no. But like...
It was for Lewis.
I was just super fucking happy to, I don't know, I was just out and about in the world. I was excited. Look at this little man here sitting here. Okay, so I found a list of... So before we go, because we are up way past our bedtime.
Oh yeah, I've yawned like 7 times.
I know, but I found a list of like hysterical dating related tweets. Okay, so you're gonna tell me if you agree or disagree with them. Okay. The first one: dating guys in their 20s is an unpaid internship.
Agree. 100%. Absolutely, agree.
Okay, sexual tension is just when you and a hot person have nothing to say to each other.
Agree. Agreed.
This one's probably my favorite because I have to do this.
Okay.
The hardest part of taking nudes is cleaning your room.
Bro.
Or any selfie in general, like you have a fire fit on, and then you look around.
I was just gonna say,
and that's funny because I'll text you while I'm getting ready, and I'm like, I'm having my getting ready mental breakdown, and then like I throw shit all over the room, and then I'm like, I feel good, and I want to take pictures, but my room's a fucking disaster.
Like forget about the nudes, but like straight up pictures. When I used to live at home, I'd like throw everything into a corner.
And it was just the pile of shame, I call it.
Because, like, as I'm getting ready, like, I'm trying on clothes, like, things are going everywhere. And then I'd be like,
crying,
I look good.
I'm good now. And, like, I just, with my foot,
I'm
just,
like,
swoop. I just, yeah.
Yes, agreed.
Men love to date powerful women for 3 to 8 weeks.
Agreed. Because then they get sick of us, and they're like, you're too much. You're crazy. You're regressive.
Oh, my God.
I'm still waiting for Lewis to be like...
Your expectations, bro. He's locked in. That's it.
Yeah. If we locked in.
This one, though. The fuck fucking TikTok. This one though, a wedding. You mean an open bar where two people are also getting married?
That's literally me in 6 months. Agreed.
This one resonates. This one though resonates very heavily with me.
Okay.
A relationship is just an expensive way to watch someone slowly like you less and less.
I don't agree, but I do agree.
Emphasis on the expensive.
I don't agree as someone who's getting married, but in your case, agree.
Instead of blocking your ex, become such a disaster that everyone makes fun of your ex for ever dating you.
No, disagree.
I feel like yes.
You gotta boss up.
I was boss up, and then the video I sent you with the little violin. That is how I feel about that. So that's a disagree.
Up. Don't be crazy. Don't be crazy.
No.
Boss up. Do better.
I'm not gonna make myself
and
look stupid.
Let everybody be like, "Yo, did you see your ex? Like she
glow up.
lost all this weight, or her hair got dyed, or like
she looks mad good."
Yeah. Don't become the disaster.
No, let them be the disaster. Dating is collecting information about someone until you realize you don't like them.
Yes, agreed.
100%.
That was my last relationship for 4 years.
That was the ick. That was like just realizing that you are just not it. Okay. White girls want a wedding so they can hear their totally uncommunicative boyfriend say what they like about them for the first and only time.
Oh my god.
I don't know. I've never been married.
I was like, I'm not white, so
I've never been married or engaged, so I don't know.
I hope disagree.
I mean, I don't know.
So.
I see some things on TikTok and I'm like, that might be true. It could be true. I don't know. I can't believe I have to just keep dating until someone likes me back or I die.
Agreed. That was me. Forever. I was just like,
At this point, like I said at dinner, I don't really know if I want to continue this trend. I don't really care.
I was like, is
it
this
is
what we're going to do forever? And then I met Lewis and I was like...
And this bitch says go buy a rose toy.
Oh, listen. The rose toy, they're excellent.
Yes, but there are just things that it can't do. The rose toy...
Don't knock it, bitch. Don't knock it.
I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying. It doesn't talk back, but it also can't wrap its hands around my neck. So...
Listen, buy you a scarf, tie that shit around your neck, and the end.
Oh, my God.
You said you wasn't going to make me laugh, ho.
I always make you laugh. This one is another good one. There's plenty of fish in the sea, but you know what else is in there? Trash. There's trash in the sea.
Yes, agreed. There's a lot of trash. A lot.
Pollution. Just found out that to get in a relationship, I can't constantly isolate myself from everyone. Lots to process.
Bro, the first, 2 years of me and Lewis's relationship.
And that's like the meme that's like, is your soulmate supposed to break into your house?
My favorite was the first time we got into a fight and I was like, don't talk to me. I don't want to talk to you. And he was like, okay. You know in relationships you're supposed to communicate. And I was like,
like, who sent you?
With who? And he was like, with me? And I was like...
I think the most ridiculous thing, the most, like, oh my God moment for me recently has been, like, I'm not going to answer that until you calm down. What?
Lewis was like...
What?
Why do you always kick me out? And I was like, I don't know what else to say.
It's the drama, bro. It's the drama. I don't...
Like, I've been through a lot, and this is how I communicate, and I know it's not good, but I don't know how to fix it.
I'm like, honestly, every time I go see my therapist, every time I'm like, nothing has really happened. Like, I don't have anything to tell her. And then, like, right before the appointment, a bunch of shit will happen. And I'm like, well, there goes my fucking copay. And she just sits there. And, like, those memes where it's, like, somebody, like, writing on the pad. And they're like,
oh, girl.
Is her. And, like, she's just such a chill. I'm going to see her tomorrow. So, like, big ups to you. Yeah.
Sweet girl.
She's a saint, honestly.
She's Puerto Rican, so she's
a spicy therapist.
She's probably been through a lot herself.
With me, yes. I've been seeing her for about 5 years now. So she knows, I'm pretty sure that at this point she's probably financed a boat off of the fucking time that I've been there. And then she's probably got several, I'm sure that I have a shelf on her, like an encyclopedia has like volumes. I have volumes. It's like mentally ill, volume 2017, like healing and processing 2018, like shitty life choices and pandemic 2019, like I'm sure I have.
What volume are we on now? What's the title of that one?
This year?
Yeah.
This volume is What the Fuck 2022. And then I guess 2023, like we're gonna optimistically name it like we're gonna do better.
That's fair.
But
that's fair.
But the fact that I texted this morning, I was like, hey. I'm in Brooklyn.
I was like, oh, I feel like that's not a terrible
No.
decision.
No.
You,
I enjoy that decision very
You're
much.
single and you're doing you.
Yes. But I'm just saying, when I say I'm going to go home and sleep in my own bed, I should probably do that. But, I mean, like, accountability, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
We got time. We're in our 30s, early 30s. We got
30,
time
40
to be
and thriving.
accountable.
Well, not you, but me.
Yeah, that ship
You're
has
just 30
sailed.
and driving. No flirting.
No, I can't flirt. Lewis would literally.
Listen, he was
He was
Lewis
ready.
walked over, and there are several videos of that as well. Like we're like singing and like dancing and having a good time, and like that you
man-
abruptly see me put the camera like down and turn because he was walking over.
This man, a man would breathe in my direction, and Lewis is like, I
No,
will
the
slap
man
this
was like,
bitch
"Do you
out."
watch soccer?" And we turn like peripherally, I see
And Lewis
with
like
purpose.
walked
With
literally. This man is
purpose.
here, and
Beeline.
Lewis looked at him, and he goes, "I will slap the shit out of him."
And we're like, no,
And I was like, Lewis, come here.
And the World Cup was on, so I was like, that's I think what like the thing was. We were like,
I was like, Lewis, come here, and he was
always-
like, what? I was like, you
calm
can't,
your ass, bro.
you can't do that, and he was like, okay, all right.
And
I
he
was
just
like,
went back to the limit. Don't you dare knock that over, bro. Always a fucking adventure, bro. Always an adventure.
It will always
but
be
never
an adventure.
disappoints. Never
But now we're
disappoints.
taking you guys
along with us, yes. And we are planning a New Year's Eve party, so we may take you along for that as well.
We'll let you know how
We
that
will.
goes.
But thank you for joining us for episode 3. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. And let us know how you feel about some of these topics in the comments.
Or even give us some topics.
Yes.
Because we're always looking for some.
On my poll on
freshen up.
Instagram, send me some stuff. Like somebody said, do you get your lick back? So that's a good one too.
Oh.
Like,
Well,
do you
we'll
get
talk
your lick
about
back?
that.
Yes. So
We'll talk
maybe
about
next
that.
time. But thank
'Cause I
you
was
for
a
joining
petty
us.
bitch.
Oh, please, bitch. Bitch.
But stay tuned.
Stay tuned and thank you for joining us. And we'll see you next time.
Bye,
Peace out.
guys.